Man, you recognize those guys? Man, that's the Tower of Power. But if you don't, class is in session.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Music Mindset channel. You know I'm going through a little bit of something right now. Most of you know what I'm talking about. But we're back to get going strong again on the Music Mindset channel. The channel where we talk about things from the past that made today great. Today we're going to be talking about the Great Tower of Power, T.O.P. Yeah, man, them boys were hot. But before I get into that, I first want to say something to the people who think it's okay to say anything to anybody at any time. I like that kind of stuff. Keep doing it.
Yeah, Mr. Mindset, let them know that the views by trolls count too. We love the trolls.
Anyway, the Phoenix Horns were great back in the 70s and stuff like that for Earth, Wind & Fire. These guys had their own thing. Tower of Power had their section too. Some saxophones, trombones, trumpets, and stuff like that. Not a complete brass section, more like woodwinds mostly and stuff like that, with Emilio Castillo and stuff like that. They had a great story, man. I tell you what, we're going to talk about them, get into the backstory, and listen to a few clips of the songs. So it's going to be kind of in-depth. So y'all hang in there to the end, and I'll see you guys at the bottom.
Started to let your hair go, spend big bucks to top your wardrobe.
This is a story that goes deep into the soul of the East Bay. So let's just jump right into this crazy tale, because if you think you know funk, you're about to learn where one of the real blueprints came from. The story of Tower of Power begins not in a big studio, but in Oakland, California, circa 1968. Oakland at that time wasn't just a city, it was a melting pot of soul, blues, Chicano rhythms, church harmony, and street grit. The founder was a young sax player named Emilio Castillo. He was the spark, driven by a vision of a soul band that was massive, loud, and precision engineered. They started as the Gotham City crime fighters, and they wore Batman and Robin type costumes and stuff. They even dabbled with the name Black Orpheus. Before they were Tower of Power, they were a group doing covers called the Motowns, which tells you where their heart was. The definitive moment of creation came when Castillo met a baritone sax player named Stephen Doc Kupka. Kupka was not just a player, he was a writer, a poet, and Castillo recognized immediately that this was the co-pilot for the musical journey. Legend has it, when Castillo was hesitant to hire him, his own father urged him on, saying, "Hire that guy, he's special." That partnership, Castillo's energy, and Doc Kupka's sophistication became the unstoppable writing engine of the band. They were a raw, high-energy 12-piece unit, often underage, but dominating the Bay Area clubs. But here is where the first challenge hit, because most of the members were not yet 21. And after a member got caught drinking in a club, the authorities found out and threatened penalties to all the clubs in the area if they ever hired the band. With no other options for work, the band had to seek a different type of venue, which led them to the Fillmore, a legendary venue in the San Francisco psychedelic rock scene at the time. There were no age restrictions, because there was no alcohol involved. It was just the music and light shows. But the Motown's clean-cut, soul band image and the name clashed with the long-haired, counterculture vibe of this venue. The band members had to change their name and their look to impress Bill Graham, who owned the venue, in order to get a gig at the Fillmore. They did it, and Bill eventually became impressed enough to sign them to his label at San Francisco Records. This was their first break, and their 1970 debut album, East Bay Grease, featured their first lead vocalist, Rufus Miller. Bill Graham had to pull strings and get them the gig of a lifetime, opening for Jimi Hendrix at the Berkeley Community Theater. Yeah, Jimi Hendrix. Castillo said they were so green, Hendrix made them play on a little stage in front of the curtains with the house lights on. It was a classic musical hazing ritual, but it introduced their explosive funk soul sound to thousands of people, and their career was truly launched. But their real national attention came on the 1972 album Bump City. That album gave us You're Still a Young Man, which broke the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 29. The story behind the song is pure melodrama. Castillo co-wrote the track based on a real relationship where his older girlfriend told him he needed to be with someone his own age. Fronted by singer Rick Stevens, the world was hearing the incredible arrangement for the first time. Then came the game changer, the 1973 self-titled album.
I knew the time would come.
The addition of vocalist Lenny Williams gave the band the soulful lead voice it needed for mass appeal. He fronted the band between early 1973 and late '74, the period of their greatest commercial success. It also brought in two giants, the legendary keyboardist Chester Thompson and the young tenor player Lenny Pickett, who would go on to be the musical director for the Saturday Night Live band. This album delivered their biggest commercial hit, the ballad So Very Hard to Go, which climbed to number 17 on the Hot 100. The track that truly defined their sound, however, was What Is Hip. It introduced the world to the Oakland stroke, a razor-sharp, heavily syncopated, rhythmic foundation. Listen closely to bassist Francis Rocco Prestia. His sound was unique. He didn't use the popular slap technique. He used a complex, finger-style groove full of subtle ghost notes, creating a hypnotic funk that became their trademark. And right beside him was drummer David Garibaldi, a man whose linear, left-hand-led patterns became the drummer's holy scripture. The rhythm section wasn't just tight, it was architectural. The glory continued with Back to Oakland in 1974, which saw another solid hit.
Don't change horses in the middle of a stream. Giddy up!
And Don't Change Horses in the Middle of a Stream, which peaked at number 26. But for the musicians listening, the true masterpiece was the instrumental Squib Cakes. This track was so complex, so full of fire and precision, it cemented their reputation among the funk and jazz elite. But the music business is rarely smooth. After the peak of the mid-70s, the band's structure struggled. Lead singer Lenny Williams left, beginning a period of rapid turnover for vocalists. The band's history holds true tragedy, as singer Rick Stevens, who sang their first big hit, struggled severely with drugs and was later incarcerated for a double homicide. It was a dark, unavoidable chapter that marked the depth of the band's struggles with the darker side of success. They kept fighting, even featuring a notable lead singer in the mid-'80s, Ellis Hall, the only blind vocalist in their history. But founding member Emilio Castillo battled severe drug and alcohol addiction for 2 decades, nearly losing his life before finally finding sobriety in 1988. And yet, through all the ups and downs, the Tower of Power Horns became the most reliable, sought-after session band in the world. They played on hits for everyone from Santana and Rod Stewart and provided the punch-on hits for Huey Lewis and the News in the '80s. Their sound became the sound of power. The band's resilience was tested tragically in 2017.
2 musicians from the longtime Bay Area band are hospitalized after they were hit by a train before a scheduled gig in Oakland.
It was a devastating, near-fatal accident for both men. Their eventual recovery and return to the stage became a legendary chapter in the band's survival story. The recent years also brought the heartbreaking loss of the founding bassist, Rocco Prestia, to health issues, truly marking the end of the original Oakland stroke era. But here we are in 2025, and founders Emilio Castillo and Doc Kupka remain the pillars. They are still writing, recording, and perpetually touring. Tower of Power is no longer chasing hits. They are simply a functioning, living monument to the power of funk and soul. They have earned their status as an institution. Tower's horn section appeared on a number of other artists' recordings, including Otis Redding, Aaron Neville, Aerosmith, Bonnie Raitt, David Sanborn, Eric Clapton, Elton John, and more. The horn section also recorded with bassist Larry Graham's Graham Central Station, Grateful Dead, Carlos Santana, Journey, Brothers Johnson, and many more. Yeah, just when you think you know the whole story, you find out how much blood, sweat, and absolute genius went into making that sound. People will always remember the name Tower of Power, because they showed us that the best music isn't about being on the charts every week, it's about being in the pocket every single night. It's a masterclass in sophistication and raw power. They took a raw sound from the East Bay and forced the entire music world to pay attention. That, my friends, is the mindset we celebrate here.
Yeah, man, that's the story of the T.O.P., Tower of Power. Man, them boys were hot back in the day. Still working out today. They went through a couple of lead singers and members and stuff like that, but the funk never dried up, I tell you what. I hope you appreciate that story on the Music Mindset channel. I'm Mr. Mindset, and I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Make sure you're there, or you can click the video on the screen.